Good afternoon, and welcome to a first look at WDT's WeatherOps Commander, designed to bring together the WeatherOps full suite of products into a centralized dashboard. At the end of the webinar, we will open up for questions and try to get to as many as time allows. Today, we're going to be hearing an overview from Lance Maxwell. He's Director of Business Development for Utilities and Energy. Caleb Midgley, WeatherOps Product Manager, will take us through the WeatherOps Commander portal. And Jason Lynn, SVP of WeatherOps Forecast Services, is going to provide some background on his team and the whole human touch side of WeatherOps. Elizabeth Davidson, Director of Client Integration, she'll be around to help answer questions at the end of the session. Lance, let's hear from you.
Thank you for that intro, Lolly, and thank you everybody for registering and attending the webinar this afternoon. I'd just like to start off by kind of addressing the situation for why you are here today. Obviously, one of the biggest reasons behind that is that you understand that weather has significant impacts on your day-to-day operations, particularly so in those industries that are represented by the employees that are here today. Mainly so in both the offshore and onshore oil and gas operations, as well as our continental utility customers. A lot of organizations tend to ignore this threat. Instead, you guys have chosen to address it head on. And you do this because you understand that weather has a role and its associated risks in your safety operations. With that being said, we understand that you need a tailored and customized solution that is built specifically around the threats your organization faces and the safety protocols that you build into those operations. Typically, a generic solution such as just what the National Weather Service provides doesn't necessarily work specifically for your companies, as the National Weather Service provides watches and warnings generally designed for just the public instead of corporations. What we like to provide is an all-encompassing solution that takes all the National Weather Service information as well as our proprietary technologies here at WDT and incorporates them into what you're going to see today in WeatherOps Commander. One of the big drivers behind WeatherOps Commander is the idea that we need to get all of these weather tools into one centralized location for you. And the final priority obviously is for every corporation is value. Every minute is important. Time is money, and we understand that. Our goal is to reduce downtime as much as possible by supporting you in any severe weather situations, because if we can help you reduce that downtime, we can help you increase your profitability. Now, obviously, you guys need a partner for this. Just as the weather is fluid, so are the needs of each one of your individual operations. One of the things that WDT really takes pride in is that we find immense value in continuous feedback from our current clients. We want to make sure that you understand that everybody has different needs when it comes to the weather. What works for one organization may not typically or technically work for another organization. And one of the key aspects that we try to incorporate is the idea that we want to implement your best practices, your operational procedures into this system. So kind of keep that in mind as we go through today, that the ability to customize WeatherOps Commander to your specific operation is really the driving force behind this tool. Finally, just as an add-on, we like to say that weather isn't automated. Okay, it's always changing, and a computer that does all the work isn't going to handle all of your needs. So the big advantage for WDT is the ability to supplement our tools with the human touch, and that is our 24/7 team of forecasters in our WeatherOps department. So obviously you need a system that is high-tech, it utilizes all the latest advancements, but we want to make sure that we enhance that technology with our high-level scientists and meteorologists here at WDT. Those 24/7 staff members are constantly monitoring global weather. So we're not just the CONUS, we're not just North America. We monitor weather 24/7 across the globe. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Caleb Midgley, who is kind of the brains of the development of WeatherOps Commander. Caleb has an extensive background in product development and product management coming from the Department of Defense. And so we like to introduce him to you guys, and he's going to kind of go through some of the different features and different functions of WeatherOps Commander.
Thank you, Lance. And thank you, everybody, for attending today. You know, one of the things that I loved about working in the Department of Defense is dealing with some pretty technically advanced folks with PhDs, and they like to call them 1,000-pound brains, just really intelligent folks who have a lot of great ideas, but they were technical ideas, and they didn't make their way into the decision process very easily. And so the challenge that I had and we had was to take all this highly scientific data and put it into a format that you can make actionable decisions from. And that's one of the things that I love about WeatherOps Commander and the vision that we have for this tool is taking the information that we have from our trained meteorologists and then putting it in a place, a sole source location, to where you can reach out to that information and apply it to your operations without it being too scientific and too technical, something that you can work with to integrate into what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So what we want to do is build a common operating picture of weather risk for your company. And so that's the idea behind the WeatherOps Commander and the WeatherOps Commander dashboard that you see up on the screen there. Now, the WeatherOps Commander dashboard and the Commander itself, you can kind of think of it as having 4 pillars. And these pillars drive what we're doing with respect to development and where we want to go. One of those would be company user management. You know, you want to have the right people looking at the right information. And to do that, you have to be able to manage who is looking at that information and how to get them in there. So company user management is critical, and that's one aspect of the Commander that we're building out. Asset management, it's not only the people that you're concerned about, but it's also the assets that are critical for your operations. And how are those assets impacted by, say, high-impact weather events or something significant? And not only that, but making sure that those assets have information that's tailored to that specific operation that the asset is involved in. So that's one of the things that we want to take into account as we build this out, to make sure that your assets are captured. And then the third pillar is making sure that the folks that need to access the information have the right products available to them when they need it. And so the WeatherOps Commander would be a location where not only you can retrieve products on demand, but these products, you know, one of the things I like about this picture here, you can see in that product management retrieval snapshot there, some color coding. And like I said, in the Department of Defense, I loved taking technical information and making it actionable. Well, one of the great designs about that product there, it's a 7-day forecast planner, is it's basically a stoplight chart. So you take technical meteorological information and then you boil it down to a, hey, I've got green criteria, this is a great day to do operations. And so the dashboard, the WeatherOps Commander, would be a place where you can retrieve such information. You can make sure that this information is going to the right people in your organization, and you can also configure some of the settings associated with those products. And then finally, the fourth pillar is, if you're going to have a common operating picture, it's great to set up the infrastructure, but you also want to visualize that common operating picture. You want to visualize where your assets are at and where the high-impact weather events are with respect to those assets. So there's a visualization capability with the Commander itself, and that's the fourth pillar there. So drilling down a little bit deeper into these pillars, user management within the WeatherOps Commander, there's a few highlights associated with that. One of them is just simply, as you can see up there on the screen, seeing who it is that has access to the Commander itself. Adding those folks if you need new people in there. If people leave your team, removing them from that list. But also, another key aspect of that is making sure that your users have the correct roles with respect to their responsibilities in your company. So certain users may need to have the responsibility to manage the preferences for your products or manage who these products go to, so you can make them a company administrator. Other users may just be a consumer, so to speak, and they just need to view products. They're not going to specify who gets the products or the way the products should be looking. So in that case, it would be a basic user role. And so one of the things that's great about WeatherOps Commander is you can tailor your user preferences and your user roles. You can also specify your product distributions and also who actually gets access to the Commander itself. Another pillar, and let me just go back here one sec because I'm going through these. As you can see, there are some things. You can see the contact information for users there. You can also specify in this screen that I have up here, there's all kinds of products that you can access through the Commander, but maybe this employee doesn't need access to all the products. Maybe this employee only needs access to a planning outlook for a certain asset, so you can specify that. So there's lots of customization you can do in here at the user level. And then again, here's some access credentials that you can give per user. So the next pillar would be asset management. And again, users, personnel are important, but another important aspect of your operations are the assets that are critical to keep things going. And so in here, you can manage your assets. You can add assets, you can modify your assets where they're located, and you can also specify where you're at, what type of products your assets are going to be getting. Okay, so this is your asset management tool. Let me see if I've got a map here. Yeah, so you can actually bring up your list of assets and see where it's at on the map as you're actually placing it. And then as you go further along here, this particular asset, Mozambique, as you can see, we've got a whole set of products here that you can assign to that asset. So for instance, say you have an asset that's a marine asset. Obviously, it's going to need special types of weather products associated with those types of events that might occur in that environment. So we have things such as a tropical daily planner or an active storm advisory in here. So you can tailor the product distribution per asset based on what is important for that asset itself. So asset management is another critical role of the Commander. The third pillar would be the mapping aspect. So again, you know, it's good to set up a common operating picture, but you need to also visualize that common operating picture. And so within the Commander, we have static and interactive mapping capabilities. The screenshot that we have up right there is actually a zoom in to a particular asset. We have lightning range rings around that asset, so that the product that can be generated with that are actually lightning alerts that go out via email or push alerts to certain users. But also you can view it on the map. You've also got lightning strikes up there that are color-coded and satellite imagery. So there's lots of weather layer preferences that you can specify in this mapping capability. There's asset viewing preferences that you can specify. Again, it's tailoring your common operating picture to what it is your company needs. And I'll bring up another one here. This is a little bit busier, but I wanted to just give a view of the different types of weather layers and notifications that you can actually bring up in our interactive map. We've got everything from National Weather Service alerts and the text information when you click on the map associated with that National Weather Service alert, to our own WDT custom alerts, which is the green polygon shape down in the lower right-hand corner. And those are actual alerts that are generated by our WeatherOps forecasters for areas of interest. And that particular WDT custom alert was an area of heavy rain that we wanted to notify assets in that region. Hey, be on the lookout over the next 24 hours. There's going to be significant rainfall in this area. So the mapping capability allows you to get a broad look at your assets, but also even a closer look as well too. And then the fourth pillar is product management. So not all products that you need to see, or not all risk mitigation tools that you need to access, are found in a map. A lot of those, again, are in the form of planners that we produce, forecast planners. They may be a custom alerting that we send out via email, and that's what you can see in the lower left-hand screen there. And so what's great about the Commander is you can go in and specify who is going to receive these products, which products they receive. As you can see up there in the screenshot on the right, you can specify how big of an area you want to alert with respect to lightning alerting around a particular asset. In this situation, it's 3 miles and 10 miles for 2 specifications or 2 rings around that asset. You can specify which National Weather Service alerts an asset is supposed to get. So you may not care that much, say, about wind advisory, but you may be more concerned about severe weather at a location. You can specify those types of alerts going to that asset. So again, there's a lot of customization capability in here per product. And you can also retrieve archived products in the planner. So it's not just looking at current weather or forecast weather, it's also looking at weather that has already happened and bringing up those products after the fact. And so you can see we have our Tropical Daily Planner archive up here, and that's something you can access from the dashboard. And again, this is a little bit more customization with one of our products called the Weather Check. Weather Check is kind of like a nowcasting product where it's the day of an event or an operation, and you get more granular detail on the weather that might impact that location. And so there's some customization that you can do in here. We're actually going to increase the customization a little bit. That's one of our visions for the tool itself, is that you can actually specify kind of your own trigger criteria. We're not there yet, but that's one of the things that we have a vision to do with this. And then finally, so you've got the Commander, and that's great if you're at your desk and you're trying to look at your common operating picture to see what assets may be affected. But what if you're out in the field, or what if you have operators out in the field and they're on the go? Well, to that end, we've developed the WeatherOps mobile app, and this app is pretty much your companion application to the WeatherOps Commander itself. So when you're out in the field, and one of the things is when we designed this, we didn't want to get too caught in the weeds with respect to showing lots of weather information. We wanted it to be asset or location centric and quickly showing you, hey, this location is going to be impacted by something, you need to be aware. So when you open up the app itself, the first thing you see are your entered locations. And then you can also see here, it's the far left-hand screenshot, there's an exclamation mark and color coding. That lets you know the level of alerting that is impacting that location itself. So the Norman, Oklahoma location there is being impacted by a warning type alert, whereas the Omaha, Nebraska location is being impacted by a lesser type of an alert. I think it was an advisory at the time. So there's color coding associated with that, and as you drill in to the locations, you can see which alerts are impacting that location. And then further, if you go into the WeatherOps radar application there, you can actually look at some mapping of weather layers. We've got radar up there, but we've also got our WDT custom alerts shown there. So you get push alerts associated with the National Weather Service alerts, our WDT push alerts from our forecasters in-house, and lightning alerts. All of those come straight to your phone if you would like through this app. And so in this situation, you can actually drill in, and we've got that WDT custom alert with a discussion saying what's happening at that location. So, you know, our vision here is to build out the ecosystem, to build out the infrastructure here of WeatherOps Commander, where it's not just at your desk, but it's with you wherever you go. And you are being alerted upon, you have a common operating picture to work from with respect to risk mitigation. So, you know, we think we have a great foundation in place for you to work with in your company and in your organizations, but we're not stopping there. We believe that there's a lot of new capabilities that are just going to only add to the Commander experience. And so you can see up on the screen here some of the things that we're working towards. Of course, you know, we are definitely open to feedback and suggestions because we want to build our roadmap in a way that services and supports your organization. So this is some of the feedback we've received and some of the items that we think are going to help our customers down the road. But again, we're definitely open to feedback. But as you can see, archive lightning reports, it's something we're working on right now. More archiving in the dashboard itself so you can see more of your products on demand. New tropical products are on the way, and some more asset type tailorization. These are some things that we're planning on doing here in the future. So the future is bright. It's a great tool, and it's only getting better, especially as you give us your feedback. And we're really excited about everyone being able to get in there and just give it a test drive and see how it works for their operations. So thank you very much, Lynn.
Thanks, Caleb. Now we're going to hear from Jason Lynn to go to the human side of our story. And we stood at the WeatherOps Forecast Services a couple of years ago. Jason Lynn he's got enormous experience in the energy forecasting business. He has done senior meteorology roles at Duke Energy, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, been in the commodities trading. He has extreme experience and knowledge. He's an expert in mesoscale and synoptic meteorology, severe convective and winter weather, operational forecasting. He is an expert really in asset protection and optimization and really bringing that to our clients through his forecast team. He's also extremely knowledgeable in the subseasonal circulation evolution, and we do have a WeatherOps futures product that is for our energy and commodities traders, and we are standing that up as well. Jason, you want to take us through your team?
Yes, thank you, Ollie. Many businesses and end users in the weather space require a lot more than just data and toys to make operationally critical weather-sensitive decisions. In response to this need, over the past couple of years, WET has grown into more of a full-service weather provider, adding an experienced and accomplished forecast services team of meteorologists. I have the wonderful privilege of directing this 24/7, 365 group. We've built the team for both short-term and long-term success. And by that, I mean we don't run a sweatshop. We didn't simply throw together a handful of kids right out of school, pay them minimum wage, put them in front of a computer, and call them experts. We hired experienced forecasters from existing successful incumbent vendors and supplemented that group with some junior forecasters whom we can mold and train in our advanced meteorological methods. This staff makeup means every one of our shifts is anchored by a senior forecaster, two of which are seen here. Chris Kerr, our severe weather lead, and John Tharp, one of our marine meteorological forecast leads. Not to stop with the meteorological firepower just on my forecast staff. Our meteorologist bench here at WET is extremely deep. The company employs well over 50 meteorologists. These METs serve in various developer, researcher, and forecaster roles. So we take the science extremely seriously here, and it shows in our highly educated staff. Our WeatherOps Forecast Services product suite is designed to progressively elevate situational awareness. Learning from the successes of the National Weather Service communication approach, we execute an Outlook Watch Warning paradigm, which is lovingly referred to as the forecast funnel in the meteorological community. The idea is quite simple. You set the table with high-level information, and you provide more detail in time and space characteristics as the threat rolls forward in time. We see some of the product hierarchy here. We'll set the table with multi-day planners that have straightforward color-coded threat matrices. We pass into greater detail in time with hazardous weather outlooks that go into more threat descriptions across the continental U.S. and other operational areas around the globe, zoning in on the actual meteorological threats that could affect the areas. In the tropics, when there is an existing tropical cyclone, we go into great detail about the forecast risk and intensity and track for that particular storm. And for all hazardous weather information around the globe, we can issue tactical alerts down in the course of minutes and on the spatial scale of a county. So overall, with this team And these kind of great tools, we are set to cover your assets from now to next season for many years to come.
Thanks, Jason. That concludes today's presentation. Thank you so much for joining us. And don't forget, if you'd like to schedule a demo or a one-on-one conversation, please contact Lance Maxwell.